the Hebrew Israelites and Kemet. Let's talk about it. For those of you who don't know, within the Black conscious community, one of the main two schools of thought that are divided are the Black Hebrew Israelites and the House of Kemet, the Kemetic family. Now, what you're about to hear is some of the realest shit you ever heard. I'm going to show you why the division between the Black Hebrew Israelites and the Kemetic order is make-believe. It's not real life. Now, before I get started, I have to deal with the naysayers, the people that will read the title of the video and may not even watch the video, but they're so stuck on what they think they learned that is correct, they will want to argue off the top. Because a lot of people have been brainwashed, even though they think they're learning something positive. The reason I say they're brainwashed, because they have taken in ideas that they've been taught from whatever school of thought they're on. And that's fine to have these ideas, but when you take out any chances of any other ideas in your head, that's being washed out. That's what makes you brainwashed. So you could be a Hebrew Israelite, you could be Kemetic, you could be Nubian, and if you take your school of thought in and just push out everything else, that is a system of washing, you know. So you push this out, you consider this dirt, and you feel like you cleaning the clothes, which would be your mind. So you've washed out any opportunity to expand your mind. Now, the reason I say that is because when I start talking about the Black Hebrew Israelites and those that are Kemetic, one of the first problems I'm going to have is with the Kemetic community and their denial of the fact that there was even any Hebrew Israelites. They denied the legitimacy of the Old Testament and the New Testament in the Bible. Now, there's a big problem with that. The denial of the existence of the Hebrew Israelite goes against some of the teachings that we as Kemetic people teach about our history. And I'm going to explain this in the detail. A part of teaching about Kemet is that archaeology is still being done, that there are more things in Kemet to be found. But more than that, for a lot of Black people that are in the Kemet, we teach that the noses were shot off of different artifacts and broken off of different artifacts in Kemet because there was an attempt to hide the true identity of the Black people from Kemet. So we know that the Germans went in there and shot a lot of noses off of things and broke a lot of statues. We know that people went in there and repainted what they could paint, lightened up pictures. Okay? So we teach that, and as a part of the Kemetic order, we realize that if we didn't do some research now, there's a possibility that all that information would have been hid, and by the time we've seen it, it could have all been whitewashed. Right? So if that's true, if someone tried to hide the identity of the Black people in Kemet, what makes those in the Kemetic community think that people haven't hid the true black identity of the black Hebrew Israelites. See, would those that call themselves Jews and are not, that are occupying what they now call Israel, would they hide information about black Hebrew Israelites? And if you're truly a Kemetic person that knows how they tried to do Kemet, you would have to answer yes. So to ask for the identity and say, because a lot of people come in and say, well, look, in Kemet, say, look, we got all these statues, we got all those, where's anything of Abraham and stuff like that? Well, you barely got your statues in Kemet. You barely got your artifacts in Kemet. They tried to destroy it. So who's to say that proof of black Hebrew Israelites is also not been buried? We know that where they had the Aswan Dam in Kemet, when they built that dam, they flooded one side of Kemet, and we know there's a lot of artifacts under that water. So it's only reasonable to think there's a lot of artifacts concerning Israel that are hid also. So now let me get into the black Hebrew Israelites and Kemet. What makes the division between the black Hebrew Israelites and those that are Kemetic, what makes that ridiculous is that the first thing I said when I said that we know that artifacts will be hidden. But the second thing is the story, the actual story in the Bible. According to the Bible, Abraham had his first son by a Kemetic woman and had Ishmael before he had Isaac. Right? So, from the beginning of the story of Israel, there is a mix between the two nations. When Abraham slept with Hagar, the Egyptian helper that worked around the house, like a babysitter, like a maid. So you see the bloodline is mixed. Now I'm going to get back to that point when I get to the part about Israel living in Kemet. Now, the Hebrew Israelites, some kind of way, have this disdain. They don't like people that are Kemetic based on the Bible story of the Hebrew Israelites being in bondage in Kemet. That's also kind of fake, and it's also not true to them studying their own scripture, because the only reason they were in Kemet is because they sold Joseph. Rather or not, I'm saying they took Joseph and put him in a hole. The 12 sons of Israel, 11 of them took, or however many went out. I don't know the facts on how many went out, but I know they was jealous of Joseph. And they went out and put Joseph in a hole. And I think a different nation found him, and then the Egyptians bought him from them. So the beginning of their story that connects them to Kemet is first Abraham sleeping with Egyptian woman. Second, they sold their own brother. Sold their own brother. Put him in a hole. Really, they didn't even sell him. They left him for dead. I keep saying sell, but that's incorrect. They left Joseph for dead. In that hole, anything could have happened to him. He was lucky that somebody found him and that he was sold. But they just left him for dead. Okay? So my problem with Hebrew Israelites that read certain parts of what happened in Kemet and then hold this grudge with the new Kemetic people that are living now is that the beginning of your story started out with Hebrew Israelites being foul. They start out with Abraham not being able to have a baby by his own wife. He gets a Kemetic woman pregnant, and everything is fine until his wife has Isaac, and that's when he wants to throw the other baby out. That's not positive. That was negative. That was negative. He threw Ishmael out after he finally went on ahead and had a baby. That ain't positive. Then, later, when Jacob becomes Israel and has these sons, they leave their brother in the hole for dead. According to the scriptures, the brother ends up in Egypt. To make a long story short, the Pharaoh has these dreams. Joseph goes to the Pharaoh and said, that means a drought is coming. You should build some big silos and start saving food. According to the story, the Pharaoh saved a bunch of food. And from Joseph helping them, okay, because Joseph seen this coming, and them having the ingenuity, they was able to put Joseph's vision and the ingenuity of the Kemetic people together as one, and then people didn't die, because everybody would have died from the famine. Now, this famine was worldwide, and according to the story, the children of Israel came to Kemet looking for food, and Joseph recognized them and told them, go back and get your father. They go back and get their father. Of course, Pharaoh had given Joseph the best land in Egypt, the land of Ramesses. Now, Joseph is given some of the best land in all of Egypt. See? And the family comes in and is invited in. Now, I don't know why the Kemetic people from Kemet and the Hebrews don't bond on that part of the story. The Hebrews should bond on that part of the story, because at that part of the story, there was love and unity. Okay? There was love and unity. They was brought in. They was taken care of. Nobody bothered them. All right? Nobody bothered them. Now, during this period where they're all getting along, they're living there in Kemet. People are coming from all over the Kemet to get food because there's no food, thanks to Joseph and thanks to the people of Kemet having the ingenuity to save the food, because a lot of people were still nomadic. Now, so you have these Hebrews living in Kemet. Now, this is what I want to ask the Kemetic people and the Hebrews. Do y'all think they wasn't having sex? Who believes? Because I see Hebrews and talking as if the people that are the Kemetic, or if there was a Kemetic, because some Hebrews don't even want to acknowledge that a lot of us come from Egypt, but they don't acknowledge any union between the Hebrews and the people of Kemet. The Hebrews seem to think that they were able to stay purebred Hebrews, that they're not mixed with blood from Europeans, from slavery, that they're not mixed with blood from Kemet, that they're not mixed with blood from Ethiopia, although Moses married an Ethiopian. See? So this idea that you're a pure Hebrew and that you're a pure Kemetic, it's like saying that the blacks in Indiana and Gary, Indiana are pure Gary, Indiana blacks, and the blacks in Chicago are pure Chicago blacks, and they not meeting at clubs, and brothers sleeping with women from Indiana and men from Indiana sleeping with women from Chicago. Now, some Hebrews say it was against the laws for us to mingle with other people. Abraham did it now. If the beginning of the Hebrew story starts with Abraham sleeping with the Egyptian woman, what the hell make you think that all them Hebrews in Kemet wasn't sleeping with Egyptian women, them Hebrew men, and that Egyptian men wasn't sleeping with Hebrew women? Now, say both nations, that was taboo, right? Today we got things are taboo, right? Do people abide by it? No. Ain't no way. See, I'm the common sense teacher. All them books is cool, but if you read a book, you don't mix it with common sense, it ain't going nowhere. Let's take me. I'm a Kemetic Pharaoh. I'm in Kemet. I'm doing good. The Hebrews are there, and I see this fine Hebrew sister. She like me, and I like her. You don't think we're going to have babies? Yeah? See, this is common sense. So these people were mingling and mixing together. Anyway, all the cultures is trying to be buried, and anybody think they wasn't mingling and mixing together need to go and get the books of Maccabee, okay, and read some of the books of Maccabee, and you'll see, okay, you'll see that the Hebrews, the Ethiopians, and the black Kemetic people all fought together. That's the story between the Old Testament and New Testament. There's a lot happening between there. And that's in certain books. It's in certain, Roman Catholic Bible has more books than the Christian Bible. Why? There's other stuff. The people that decided to put the books of the Bible together, they used to debate on which books, were real, authentic, and which ones were made up, because people were making up stories too. Some stories was real, some stories wasn't. And they did their best to try to find the most legitimate stories and put them together. Okay? That was floating around. And they really tried to weed out stories that could have not been authenticated to be really what they said they were. Because back in those days, people was making up false crosses, saying this the cross that Christ was crucified on, this the rag to wipe Jesus' face, this is the donkey jawbone Samson used, this is the scepter from the Pharaoh. I mean, people was doing that way back, saying they got the garment from Akhenaton, that they got this is the real shield that Pharaoh said he fought in the war. People were doing that a long time. So when they put this Bible together, they was trying to weed through all this fake stuff. And they did a great job. They got the most legitimate stories, and these stories are very much so legitimate. Now, when we get to the part where those Hebrews didn't get along with the people of Kemet, the first thing you have to read is where it says, now a new Pharaoh came that knew not Joseph. See? A new Pharaoh. And we know that people have not lined up history correctly, but those of us that study Kemet know that Ptolemy and them start coming in, and they start having all these European pharaohs, and we know the era with Cleopatra and that whole mess. So this new Pharaoh didn't even have to necessarily be a black Egyptian or a black Kemetic person. Or it could have been a black Kemetic person, because different people would come and have a different attitude. In other words, the black folks from the black Hebrew Israelites could have been living in Kemet and everything was good, and then they might have started doing good, and then a new Pharaoh get in there and he get on some xenophobia. Look at xenophobia. Right now, you have situations where blacks in South Africa are fighting against the Nigerians that have moved to South Africa and the Ethiopians that have moved to South Africa, and they setting each other on fire and shooting each other and stabbing each other right now. So at any time in these places, people could feel like, oh, it's too many of you on the land. It could be a new, different set of rulers that start promoting and egging on people to go against each other. Therefore, the eye won't be on them, that they not provide for anybody. There's a lot of reasons that people are sent off to start fighting against each other. But if you still look at the basic story of the Hebrews and the Kemetic people, you'll see that, they was just both messing up whoever it was. Whoever mistreated the Hebrews that was under Egypt, whether they was white or they was the original black ones, they did it, and the Hebrews sold their own brother, and, everybody was doing good stuff and bad stuff. So you just can't be a Hebrew and say, oh, you don't like, Kemet because you read on what happened, because, you sold your own brother. You put him in a hole. You put him in a hole to die. If he would have died, you probably would have died, because that famine probably would have came anyway, and everybody would have been messed up. Okay? This is one reason you got so many different shades in Kemet, because everybody came there at one period when that world drought came. At the time, you got to realize when people was created or survived after Atlantis, either way you want to do it, because I debate the creation. If it explains Atlantis, I know it does explain the Tower of Babel and Nimrod, but some stuff is left out. But anyway, if you look at it, it still had to be, so many people, and they spread and spread and spread and spread and spread. And people say, well, how do you know that? Because there's so many people now, and they spread and spread and spread. When I went to Los Angeles and lived in Los Angeles, Long Beach wasn't nothing. Now Long Beach is a big city. So people grow. People grow now, and they grew back then. So if you ask me, the division between the black Hebrew Israelites and those of us that are Kemetic is ridiculous. And I can't really speak for myself because I am a Pharaoh. I'm a Kemetic Pharaoh, and I'm a Rasta man. So I acknowledge Kemet, and I also acknowledge the Hebrew Israelites, okay? I acknowledge both as a part of my being. I don't really look at there being no big discrepancy. I think the discrepancy is false, and I think certain people are promoting discrepancies that are still theories, and I think they're doing it for the cause of keeping division. I think sometimes people like that us against them mentality, and so they get in these schools of thought, and they are really out to try to stay separate. They're not looking for any common ground. And that's a little weird. You have to say to yourself, especially black people, you have to say to yourself, anybody that's got like this same color skin, to be going out of your way looking for discrepancy gets crazy. So, I just wanted to break that down. I mean, if Abraham started out sleeping with a Kemetic woman, and then, everybody was getting along at one point, maybe we should focus on that. Because all the Kemetic people didn't have the same thought. The Hebrews wanted to just put all the Kemetic people together. But you got to understand that these new Kemetic people are only promoting one side of Kemet. They're only promoting Amen. They don't talk about the Atan and how the Atan had the sun as a symbol of one God, and that one God, when the sun shines, it shines on everybody, and that's a symbol of how the Almighty Creator is for everybody, rather than the Amen that believed everything was just specifically for their black asses. Amen always was corrupt, and that's a whole nother video for another day. The Atan was really truly the righteous way to go, because it started out with one thing, and then as time went in Kemet, dynasty after dynasty, they just got all confused and started dealing with all kind of fuckery. So that's why Akhenaton had to come in and reestablish everything. But Akhenaton, what Akhenaton established, Abraham would agree with Akhenaton. They both had the same God, that one God. The God of Abraham. They called it the God of Abraham because didn't nobody know who the God was. It really wasn't Abraham's God like he had it in his pocket. So Akhenaton and Abraham was on the same beliefs. And later, people in these groups start thinking that God is only for them, that Allah is only for you if you're a Muslim, and Jehovah's only for you if you're a Hebrew, and Jesus is only for you. You got to believe in Jesus. Other than that, Jesus is too stupid to help everybody unless everybody let Jesus know they fucking with Jesus. Allah too stupid to help everybody. You got to go and let Allah know, I believe you, Allah. Then Allah finally gets some sense and help you. This is what we teaching nowadays. That Jehovah just not the God for everybody. You got to go and tell Jehovah that Jehovah is your God for Jehovah to fuck with you. This shit is like dumbest shit ever. Kemet's so bad, they just saying stupid shit that don't even make no sense. There ain't no God. the gods ain't real. We're dealing with African spirituality. You can't pray to Jesus, that spookism with Jesus, but you can pray to the ancestors, and the ancestors are going to do the same shit that people say angels and guardian angels and Jesus do. These Kemetic folks are saying their ancestors are doing it. I watch people fight down one thing they want to call spookism and then turn around and say some ancestor worship. Say, oh, it's symbolism. All those gods in Egypt are not real. It's some symbolism. And I actually believe they've been taught by people, the Kemetic community have been taught by historians. And these historians were not theologians. They had no knowledge of godly things and spiritual things. So they listened to these people, and these people was telling them straight bullshit. Like most of the Kemetic teachers were historians, and they really got out of their lane and told black people a bunch of bullshit in the door. And any of them, I would have debated any of them and shut them down with just common sense. It's just basic common sense. You're not going to get common sense out of no fucking book, or you ain't going to dig no hole and find no scroll that's going to have common sense. So, if you could pray to the ancestors, here go the Kemetic people and some African spiritual people. They always say, pray to the ancestors, right? They black and they say they'll pray to the ancestors. Now, let's just say there was a Christ and he was black. His bloodline would be down to your bloodline. So, isn't praying to Christ praying to the ancestor if he's been here a long time and he's like your great uncle or cousin or grandfather? I'm just saying. I don't see the difference in praying to a Christ, that bloodline is still here, or praying to the ancestors. Pouring out shit, libations and shit. Ain't no difference in pouring out them fucking libations and going there and drinking the wine in church. I mean, you could tell that shit to somebody ain't got no fucking knowledge, which most historians ain't got no fucking knowledge. They just read a goddamn book and they say that in the 1890 and 19, them motherfuckers don't really know nothing. They can't think. They don't have psychological powers or spiritual powers. They just fucking remember dates. And that's where you learned your religious shit from. The Kemetic people got fucked up because they learned their religious thought from historians. Like from Dr. Ben. You learned spirituality from Dr. Ben. Which fucked y'all up. Dr. Ben grew up as a fucking Ethiopian Hebrew. He was a fucking Hebrew. How the hell is he going to teach you spirituality when he was running from his own spirituality and became a historian? You listen to Oswald Quasi and all of them don't know what the fuck they talk about. Them dudes don't know what the fuck they talking about. On God, they don't. And don't look at me like this is something I'm saying now. I said that in 81, 82. I was like, these guys don't know what the fuck they and Ben ain't know what the fuck they talking about. I debate 5 of them with no practice, no books or nothing. I'd go in there and debate them with just common sense, which nobody will like it because the debate will be over fast. And you go to these debates because you want to be entertained and spend your money. So what you want to do is sit there like a sucker and you want to hear shit take 2 or 3 hours. So you wouldn't like my debate because the person would say what they want to say. I would say this and I would say this motherfucker don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's talking stupid shit. This shit's bullshit he's talking. And the debate is fucking over and y'all will be mad. You want your fucking money back. Cause it'd be short and quick. Like if I was a preacher, I'd say go home and stop fucking up. And don't come back to my church next week. What the fuck you keep coming back every week for? See? They drag this shit out, so you keep coming to church. So you keep fucking going to Hebrew shit and Muslim shit, dragging out shit that I can tell you in one fucking day. I go, okay, you believe in Allah, go sit the fuck down and do what Allah fucking wants you to do. Do you have to come back to this fucking mosque? You gotta get on your knees and pray 5 times a day. If you gotta pray 5 times a day, your God dumb as fuck. Oh God, your God is dumb as fuck if you gotta pray to this motherfucker 5 times a day. I'm not praying to no fucking God. Anyway, I don't pray to no God. Because my God already know. My God know what the fuck, what's going on, what I need. My guardian angels know what I need. I don't deal with no dumb God. Okay? This is why we got so many atheists, because you teach your people that God is dumb, and so God up there like, damn, I'm not dumb like that. But then the people say, oh, I don't believe in God, and God be like, God damn, though, I didn't tell y'all to believe this dumb shit. I know the Creator be like, why y'all turning on me? I didn't tell y'all none of this shit. All you people out there talking to atheist shit, you got to realize, don't blame the Creator. Creator never told you that shit. It's foul for you to say, ain't no Creator, and the Creator looking at you like, motherfucker, I didn't tell you all this dumb shit that you use to believe it ain't no Creator now. You listen to some people told you that shit. The Creator never told you none of that shit. Stop blaming the Creator. So to get back on point, I want to say, you Hebrew Israelites out there and you Kemetic people, y'all need to get together. There's no division there. Let me just tell both of you sides, the division that you're claiming is false and fake. The Hebrews that are mad because of this so-called slavery in Kemet are false and fake because they left their brother in a hole, and the founder of their whole religion fucked the Egyptian woman and threw the baby out. And the Kemetic motherfuckers is full of shit because they're still digging up artifacts, but asking another motherfucker to show his artifacts, and your artifacts and nose been shut off your shit, and you don't want to admit that they hiding dude them shit. If they hiding Kemetic shit, they hiding Hebrew shit. Duh.